Okay, then let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Privilege of the floor, but we have nobody here.
Well, we do.
I'm sorry, I consider you part of it. Sorry, I'm sorry.
But I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
I resemble that.
Alright, does anybody have any changes to the minutes of the last meeting? Nobody?
No?
Okay,
Keep going.
sign off on it.
Whole motion to accept?
I'll second.
Gonna do that? May I have a motion to accept the minutes of the November 11th meeting as they are? Motion made by Jim, seconded by Norma, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Actually, Ellen Mary seconded before me, no?
That's just
No?
I'm
You
sorry, I
can
missed
have
it.
it.
Oh, you own it.
Okay, then, the treasurer's report.
Great. Thanks, Keith. Hi, everybody.
I roll.
So we have the report, the financials, July through November. November is month 5, so we're almost halfway through the year. I think at the last meeting I had said that we had just recently gotten the second tax check, so you see it in there under November, $489,320. So now we have 90% of our tax levy money for the year. So you see in the balance sheet we have a big load of cash now in the key checking account, $755,000. So we're pretty much fully funded to the end of the year now. We have that last 10% coming in March, another $120,000 or so. The salary line year to date is over by a little bit, but that's basically attributable to the maintenance department for special projects that had been done, and if you subtract that out, we would probably really be running under budget. So 2,500 out of 289,000 is still, not even a fraction of a percent basically. So overall, salary line is pretty much in line. I managed to enter all the Baker and Taylor invoices through October, so the books lines are accurate and updated through October. The November ones haven't been entered yet. I'll be working on that later this week. And you can see the total materials for the month of October is pretty much almost right on, $64.95 compared to $65.83. So for the full year, it looks like we're headed on track on books. It helps that we added money to the adult book line for the current year budget, because I think that was only $31,000 last year, so the $35,000 is more accurate. And I don't think anything else really stands out too much. We made the December loan payment, and our balance is now down to $108,569.25 with 13 payments to go. 12 next year, and then January 15 is the last one. So light is definitely coming at the end of the tunnel, and more or less headed on track. And as Keith and El Mary see, I have the check for the retirement, so we're gonna pay that this week, and hopefully that'll start to drop off for the next, not next year, but the following year. So promises, we shall see.
Anybody have any questions?
Sure.
Under building repairs, apparently we received some money.
Oh yeah, right, I should have mentioned that as well. Thanks for pointing that out, Jim. Yeah, we got the credits back for the windows that were damaged. We got a refund check for the windows that were damaged when the builders were doing the roofing. So that's why there's a credit balance in there.
That's a reimbursement.
Reimbursement, absolutely, yep. And also, I think last month, we moved the 25,000 into the building repairs. So now you see building repairs for the whole year is 30,000, so. And, it's more or less, on track, for the year to date. Especially with those credits in there. So really, if you think of the 25,000 as separate, the 5,000 that was in there before that, we're probably really running below on other building repairs. So we're doing pretty well on that line as well. But yes, that was definitely a couple of refund checks that we got.
And we've spent 12 of the 25 that we,
Yeah, we spent about half. I think it was 12,440 or
Yes.
something like that. Yeah, about half, just about half. Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make that motion.
Alright. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, thank
Appreciate
you,
that.
Jack.
Thank you,
Short
Jack.
and sweet.
Jack,
Thanks.
Jack, have a happy holiday, all right?
You too. Thanks.
Oh,
Thanks.
happy holidays.
Enjoy it. Merry Christmas.
Good evening, everybody.
Right, Matt.
Big news, we finished our winter newsletter this morning, actually.
Yay.
If you wanna take a look at it, it's got, we made it like last year, it's got some holiday pictures in it, and, actually Bernie, asked if he could be a set of eyes to review it and leave it to Bernie. I don't know how 5 people could have looked at it, but he found a couple slight minor corrections, but, it was nice of him to offer. Of course, Norma did a beautiful piece, just right in the center, the dear neighbors. So if you want to pass it around. The other big news, not so happy news, is Casey happy for him. Casey Conlon, our full-time reference librarian, went off to become, heaven knows why, a director at the Pauling Library. I just got a note from him. He said he was after his first day, he was headed on down to the local watering hole. So
You'll be
it's a-
mentoring him?
I tried to do all the things that I did wrong. These are the things you don't want to do. I should put a book together. But no, he was a good, very good reference librarian, a good guy. He's good to have. But I think we'll be able to find somebody to if not fill the shoes, at least bring their own talents to the table. Paul Mays, yes, they produced a have for you at the end of executive session. This is their proposal. Spoke with Paul. Actually, I've been speaking more with Megan, his partner, but I spoke with Paul directly today because I didn't think they had sent this to us, and I was nervous, and I called him, and indeed he had. I just missed it, so I'm happy to have that. I also have another proposal for the gate valve from A+ Sewers. I'll show you at the end of the meeting. Let's see. The Klaus meeting was canceled. Michelle is the chair of the Children's Librarians of Orange, Ulster, and Sullivan counties, and they had planned to go with RCLS down to some nice events and talks in the city today.
Thank you.
I got another A in my class.
Yay.
The professor came back with he's a very subtle and kind of witty guy. So I'm not sure how to quite take, because he's always a pleasure working with you, Matt. He said something like your philosophical take on our never lose your philosophical take on our profession. It requires a great deal of naivete and then something positive. I'm not quite sure how to take that, but I'll take it. I got the A. So. I should have brought it because it was actually really well crafted. It was one of those things you just could not quite place where it was, But, Rotary meetings I'm on the board again for another year, and they sent me again to one of these Rotary leadership. What do they call them? Academies, I guess, which. Interesting to see. I said last year I was the second level this year, and to see some of the stuff that these people have done with their lives, I mean, it's just staggering, really. They've been around the world helping people in all kinds of capacities, from digging wells to, doing surgery on people's eyes, all courtesy of Rotary goodwill, you know. I'm sure the Lions, I'm sure, you know, it's just amazing to me though. I've
Yeah.
never, until I met with these people, I didn't realize how many, you know, people actually dedicate themselves like that. So it's pretty, quite. I helped out over here at your church actually, Jim, at St. James on Saturday after Thanksgiving. They have, they do like a, kind of a after Thanksgiving meal for people, community meal type thing. It was nice, it was good to do. Fall cleanup looks good this year, Jim, are you happy with it?
What I've seen.
Yes,
yeah.
good, yeah, last year we had a little
Last
problem.
year the leaves were still
Right.
there when it snowed.
So we made sure that we had say as to when they were gonna come for the final, and it looks like most of the leaves are off the trees and they did their job, so we're happy. That, I don't know if you've seen Danny's work in the parking lot, he built it, so it's temporary, but it'll work, it was getting to be pretty sloppy. Friends, we're working on the next big Friends, event, probably the biggest we have, which is the trivia in March. And I can't remember actually. I don't even know. I may have. We couldn't decide whether it was the third or fourth. I think I may have put the third, and it might have been the fourth. But who's gonna? If I can't remember, no one's gonna remember. So I seem to remember there being three, because the first one was the one where David and I tried to put together some kind of a history of the library on, and it didn't come out like we wanted it to. That's my memory of the first one. The second one is when we started using images instead of just having questions. But there may have been another one that I somehow forget in there. But
No,
anyway,
I think
in any
you're
event,
right.
it's coming back.
This is the third.
Okay, good.
Yep.
And it's always a good time, and I think this is going to be the best one.
You're changing
You
it.
see, even your
What is the change to it?
to the event.
To the trivia night.
No,
yeah,
we're just
you're-
adding more images. Every question should the way I look at it is I think people like to look at the pictures more than just talk. You know, that gives people something they can, you know, begin a conversation about. So I proposed, that the way we approach it this time, or at least I sort of funneled this information to the people that are working on it, Suzanne and some of the friends, is that they find really interesting photographs first and then work backwards from that, rather than come up with an interesting question and then dig through the archives trying to find, just find some, you know, something that'll stimulate conversations and such, and then try to draw a question out, you know, from that kind of backwards. And it seems to be working, so I have a feeling, you know, and I also would like to have, last year we tried to play music through that thing and it didn't work because it was sort of blaring if you were too close and you couldn't hear if you were too far, but I found out subsequently that they have a system that you can go in the back and, you know, actually put your CDs in and it will play through the whole building. So, you know, the music should be nice. We're gonna use Willie the Lion Smith for background music, and I think it's gonna come together nicely.
Great.
So I'm excited about it. And David, you're always excited about it, right? Because he does all the, he helps me just put the slides together at the end, but it should be good. Other than that, the rest should be saved for,
Okay,
you know,
great.
okay? Any questions?
Are you up for school for the spring?
I was just talking to Jack about that. I assume if you're interested in, you know, continuing to support my education there with that class, I've found it very helpful. I mean, I think it just makes the library a better place. I mean, because, you know, it certainly endows you with the tools to be able to make decisions about things, or to be able to, you know, and not necessarily always have to run to an authority that's gonna cost you money. I mean, I wouldn't make decisions that are outside of my ken, but it lets you, it gives you enough so that you know where your kind of boundaries are and what you can't go beyond. And that is, I think, a cost savings to the library, among other benefits. I think it's good just to have people like Jerry Nichols now in our orbit, you know, helping out. He's been, you know, he's been amazing. Just a wealth of information and assistance, and it's good, you know, that way too. So the next one's on HR, and I think that would be something that would definitely be helpful. And the one after that is on finance, which is, I mean, these are all really core things. There's no fluff in this, you know.
Sure.
It's pretty. So it's we budgeted for it, but in other words, the money was always there. We never added money to that line for that,
Sure.
but it was there, and we sort of massaged it to make sure that there was enough there. But nobody has been short-sold because of it. You know,
Yeah.
Casey still went to NYLA. We had people, you know, we did all the stuff we usually do. I just think they had a lot of money in that line prior, and for a few years we barely tapped it, and this is the first time we've actually been using it, and I can't think of a better way to use it, really, to be honest.
So yes.
So yes, if it's, I'd love to go again if it's so.
So you need a motion at this meeting to,
It's not till spring, so you can mull it over and then I'll bring it up again. Okay.
Okay. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
I think
I'm watching the clock.
Alright. Budget committee discussion, we're gonna hold off till January?
Yeah.
it's Bernie, right?
Yeah.
Bernie,
Bernie
he had
Mac.
mentioned, he'd sent an email, I don't know, got him bypass surgery, sends an email the other day in detail of some changes that were made to the budget since the last one, so. Hey, I guess we'll hold off till January for him to come in.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that'll give us.
when's the date that we adopt the budget, just for our own reference here?
But we have to do it a certain amount of time before the
30
vote,
days
right,
before.
Carol?
Yes, but what we need to make preparation for the vote is the total number. So if you, as a group, decide that 2% increase is what you'd like to do, then that number is what I need to go forward. How the budget comes up to that number can be massaged up to about 10 days before the election.
Alright, so
You
putting
could
this
still
over
play
till
with it after
January,
you give me a number. You could still play with how it's presented within
but
the
the
budget.
total you need,
The total number is what
and
I
how
need
far
in
in
January.
advance, in January, so
January
after
would
the
be very
January
good.
meeting is not
Yes.
too far away.
No, and it's good for me.
It's not too close to the vote, is what I mean.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
that's all we wanted to, thank you, Carol.
So we have enough time to
Yeah.
discuss it?
As long as we come up with a total by the January meeting, is my
Yes,
understanding.
Okay.
total for the January
How we
meeting, and
distribute
then
the money, we can decide.
you
how
could
we-
still change it within the budget
Alright.
if you
As long as the total doesn't
find
change.
something, adjustments that you wanna make.
Okay, well, we're pretty much restricted regardless,
Yeah,
Right.
right.
2% cap.
Right.
And do we know if the 2% is now with the additional
I think,
25K added onto it?
I thought that's what we found out from the controller last year, wasn't it?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, so I think that's something we need to know for certain before January.
Yeah, that has to be pinned
Yeah,
down.
because
Yeah.
that makes a difference, that 2% changes,
Right,
if
right.
there's an additional 25,000 in there.
In our favor.
Yay.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but
But it looked
Or-
on that
It's-
ballot.
It could
Or
be
we
viewed
keep
by
it below
some.
2%, and we still have 2%.
yeah.
Right, because of the 25, right.
What was
That's
the
something to
1.6 that was discussed at that workshop that we
Well,
went
that
to?
was, right, that's true, we have to check on that too. I think it's been down adjusted.
The 2%
somewhat,
is
yeah.
now down
Yeah.
to
I think it's
1.6.
1.6, I think so.
Inflation.
Deflation.
Yeah,
And then
it's
the
2%
25
or
has to
the
be
rate of-
accounted for in that 1.6.
Right.
So that's that's based on our total for this year includes the 25,
Yeah,
so
the
the
base,
1.6
yeah.
is that base,
That's
or 1.2 million plus 25,000 or whatever. I think that's how it works,
Okay.
right?
Okay,
And then we have to decide, are we going to separately have another capital budget if we identify certain rather expensive building repairs?
The science is
Let's hope not.
but
hope not.
don't we have, if we don't look at things increasing, don't we have an extra 25,000
Yeah.
going into the new budget year,
that we could
with
just,
that now being part of the budget?
right,
so
and it's in
If
the,
that's a part of our new base, we would,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
right.
and it would be in the building line, cause that's where it is, right, building repairs.
We wanna do
Yeah,
the
yeah.
parking lot maybe next year? So we just
That's
think
what I
Well,
was thinking.
yeah,
Summer?
that's definitely on the list.
And the paint job, we've
And
put that off
Hold,
forever.
hold off
That's
on
gotta
that,
be-
sure. Okay, well,
food for thought.
we'll have a full meeting, I expect, in January. Jim, did you have anything to bring up with the Friends?
No, the only thing I would mention there is that the Christmas ornament for sale at Linda's sold out, and
Good.
she's ordered some more. She's taking names from a waiting list, and she hasn't yet sent a check for $2 per item to us, but she's going to. So it's going to be. I think she ordered 200, but there was a problem in manufacturing. I think she got 130. So we're going to get $260 toward the library.
That's great.
So then for next year, she has to decide which building to use on next year's, and I'm making the pitch that doesn't really have to be a library building for us to get the $2 because of the Historical Society.
That's
It's part of the
right.
history of Goshen.
You go find the
Yeah.
real old building.
She's thinking that over, I think.
It could be
That's
the
very clever.
statue,
Could be a
There
monument.
you go.
monument, sure.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
historical.
I think we
Be
have
a-
about
could be
six, we
a,
got 6 of them.
What's that?
Could be several of those, the Lawyer's Row, those gorgeous
Yeah,
brownstones.
yeah.
That would be a nice.
Wood, pretty.
Yeah, the beauty of Goshen. So, okay,
I have a question. The staff meeting is this Friday?
We haven't even discussed it yet, and I was thinking maybe we would push it back a little so that Bernie can attend, because he wasn't
He
able to
likes
come
to
to
go.
that, and he always comes to that, so.
Well, I would bring it up only because we usually contribute.
You did already.
Oh, that's what I was
Jim
gonna
took
ask.
care of it,
Yeah.
yep.
You're so on top of things.
That came up last month.
It did, but I didn't know if we actually did anything about
yeah,
it.
thank you.
Okay, I just didn't want to
No, no.
not get you bagels.
No, thank you.
Good, all
Cool.
right.
Anything else regarding committee reports? That's all we have going on. We'll hold off on the new library initiative, unfinished business, till our executive session, as Matt has something to present.
Okay.
And it all hinges on, I think, on that at this point. New business, is there anything, I've not heard of anything we need to introduce?
I don't think so. We have somebody for the snow plowing, we
Yep.
have the roof is taken care of, like all the big things I think
Yep.
over the last few months, I think it's all done.
That's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yep, yep.
We're good.
You might actually get out of here on
Looks
time.
good.
We will get out of here, okay. Proposed agenda items for
I didn't
next
say
month's
7:45.
Well,
I say we're gonna need most of the next meeting for the budget,
I think
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's,
That's gonna
you
be a
know,
big discussion.
just keep everything else short and sweet and the
Yeah.
bulk of the meeting toward the budget.
Yeah, there really isn't a whole lot else to discuss.
I have to ask it.
So you can check that box now.
I knew the answer.
Of course you did.
Privilege of the floor again.
I do have one quick thing, I promise, it'll take all of 5 seconds. So, the Facebook, we've done a couple of changes just visually. There used to be a little box when you first logged on. There used to be a box here of what other people posted. We took that off, and why we did that is because the people who were posting were mostly Michelle. It was Michelle, was the only other person that was posting. So what I did is I gave her and myself, Casey's gone, so he doesn't count anymore. The two of us have access to this also from our personal accounts. So when Michelle takes a picture on her phone, she can upload it right then and there. Doesn't have to log off and then log on as someone else. We both have access to it 24/7, which is great because when my mom pushed me over at 7:45 this morning and said library opens at noon, I took out my phone, went to pages I manage, library's not opening till noon, and went right back to bed. And I didn't have to get on my computer and log off and do all these things. So it's going to make it a lot easier. And what Michelle and I are trying to do with that in mind is to do post-program news. So for example, big things like our summer reading, we have our winter reading coming up. So let's say we've got 25 kids in here and they're all dressed like snowmen. She can take a picture, check out, this was our last program, this is what it looked like, this is how we decorated, and so we'll have some more images, which is really what we want on here is videos and pictures so people, instead of hearing about what we're doing, we can actually see it and say, oh look, there's 25 kids and they all dressed up as snowmen and they all brought in 5 canned goods a piece, or they all brought in $100, or they all brought in something, and this is the good it's doing for everybody, not just the library, but it's like the whole community in general. Or they can, like for summer reading, we read 500,000 pages. Well, what do 500,000 pages look like? If she had some sort of visual representation of that, however, or if she had like the coins that they used. If she had a trunk, let's say, with all the coins in it, she could put that on. This is how many coins, at 5 pages or whatever. Just make it more visual and less wordy, I guess. So that's new. The other thing that lets us do that's really interesting is now I can search via the library, so the library can like more things. What I used to have to do was, if like let's say I like the Goshen Chamber of Commerce, I would have to go onto their page and look at their likes. But now, let's say there's a new restaurant that opened in Campbell Hall. I can just search for it like a regular Facebook person could. So it's making us more accessible to cross promote with other people, and the ability to like more people, which is great because now we like mid-Hudson weather. So December 6th we had, hey, there's rain coming, there's some storms, so we might have a closing, just heads up. And we had a nice little Doppler from their website, which we couldn't do before, so we can do that now, which is much better. We have Orange County Tourism, stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so we're just trying to
great.
streamline it, and I don't know what now that Casey's gone, I'm not sure what the reference situation is, but whoever our new full-time reference, if we get a new full-time reference, whoever is head of that will also have the same access that Michelle and I have, so for their adult programs, they can do the same thing. So they can say, oh hey, we had 15 people come for our British talking tea, or we had this or that or whatever. And then if you guys have anything, like Ellen Mary just shared something on my personal Facebook, and it was a little picture of Santa Claus. There you go. Yeah, it was very cute. And I'm gonna post it on the libraries actually. And it's a picture of a kid on Santa's lap, and he said, I want a computer and the ability to travel through time and space. And he said, okay, here's a library card. So she put that on my wall, and then I shared that on the library's wall. For Christmas, give the gift of a book, give the gift of a library card, bring your husband or your friend in, and give them the ability to travel through space and time. So if you guys see anything that looks cool, you can either post it right to the library's wall, or you can post it to me, and I'll post it as the library, if you think that's more appropriate, or if you'd rather see that done. That's no problem at all. She also gave me a really nifty Shakespearean insult chart, but I'm gonna leave that online. If anyone wants it, it's there. And that's it. I think that's all I got. That's all she wrote. Oh, Casey, before he left, finished his scanning booklet, and I went through it, Anne went through it, and I'm gonna have my mom go through it this week, and we literally followed it word for word. So he was like, scan the picture, and I scanned it, and it came out really funny. He's like, oh, you're supposed to close the lid. I'm like, well, we gotta put that in there. So it's gonna be literally exactly word for word, so that anyone can do it, and we need volunteers to do that. And what Anne and I have decided is we're gonna get volunteers to do our scanning, because it's very, very simple. It's very, very easy. His guide is perfect. There's images, so it says click the red X, and then there's a picture, and the red X is circled. It's awesome. And then we're gonna do all the metadata, which is, this is a 3x5 postcard, this is a picture of thus and such, because that's like the more difficult part, and that's where the Library of Congress gets involved, what they call things, like the trolley example I gave you guys a couple weeks ago. So we're gonna do that because we know what we're looking for, whereas someone off the street might not. So we're gonna have them do the scanning, but that will cut down on our time considerably. And once we get familiar with the Library of Congress, like their headings and what they call things, it will be so much easier, because we'll know, oh, it's not school, it's called educational building, or whatever they're calling it. And since our postcards are done in volumes, they're done all by, like, all the churches are in one section.
Right.
They're all done by subject. So once we're done with it, we're done with it. So it will streamline itself over time. So even if we thought about doing like 10 postcards a day, doing the metadata for them, or attempting to do that, and then that's 300 postcards.
Wow.
So we could get, depending on how easy it ends up being, this could be done in 6 months once we get some volunteers in to scan, and because it's just time consuming. You have to sit there and you have to scan it, and you have to save it as a certain way. It just takes time. But if we could get maybe 2 or 3 really good volunteers that are kind of computer savvy, and know the area as well, so that it's interesting to them, that would be superb. And then we'll do all the background information, and then once we get about 50 to 100 done, we're gonna send them to HRVH, which is the end all and be all of historical things, and Jen's gonna look at them, and then she's either gonna say, this looks great, or you need to go in and fix this, and then they will be up on the internet for the world to see. So that's
Thank you.
that.
That's
So
good.
even though Casey's gone, we
His legacy
continue.
lives on.
Yes, and we also have a cell phone number in his email in case we get really, really stuck. And I told him if he wants to come back and volunteer, he's more than welcome. But he didn't want to do that.
Actually, you just reminded me of something else related to local history. Anne was talking with Cornelia Bush, the Orange County historian, and we have we have a homemade kind of volume of old orange houses. There's a published work called Old Orange. You've probably seen it, Jim. I don't know. We have one that was put together here at the library, and Cornelia often consults it because it kind of finishes where the first couple volumes started, what the work they started. So they're looking into possibly, this would be the county, having it published for us, so that it's in book form, but we have to find out who actually has rights to it and such and such. I mean, it's really like a binder that's been put together over the years, but it contains a wealth of information. And I think it's a unique thing, you know, so to be able to make it actually a saleable item would be good, you know, because there are a lot of people that would wanna complete that work and would actually be willing to shell up over some money for it, so.
And speaking of that, actually had me do a whole copy of it, so Cornelia could have a copy and we
Yes.
would have a copy.
Right.
So I had to, take out all the articles and double side them and do all these things, and as I was going, I was reading them, and some of them were really interesting.
Yeah, it's a
I
fascinating.
didn't know Orange County was this cool. It's got some cool stuff, so that's really exciting for us. And I swear that's it.
Something I was gonna mention or ask about and I forgot to during the meeting, the Cornerstone Arts Alliance, as I understand, it no longer exists, is that correct?
It's, they changed their name to
Changed their
Corners,
name.
yeah, and they've kind of trimmed it, they're just focusing on theater arts. I think they lost the music guy went off to do something else maybe, I don't know the whole
I
story.
hadn't heard that, but.
Ken said that he's,
Yeah.
But they were a registered nonprofit.
well, I don't think that they ever got that, but they were in the process
They
of
were in
it,
the process.
yes.
I guess what I'm trying to get to is we had a contract with them.
Right.
So if the organization that we had a contract with is redefining itself with
Right.
a different name,
Well-
does that affect the contract in some way?
Don't we renew that contract in January?
Well, that's what I'm trying to
Right.
find out.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and I've
If it's
been
a
talking
renewal
about,
in January, then we need to get the
right, Ken is sending me the details, I
Okay.
received a phone call from him today saying he's got the details
Okay.
about how it's gonna work and he'll present it to us and,
So what happens with the jazz festival? Is that still his, or is that Sullivan's?
I don't know that,
May I?
yes, sure.
We took over this year because, Ken and Chris were, partners on it.
Right.
And then, Chris was gonna come in and play, he wasn't organizing it, and so he went from an organizer to a musician,
Right.
and so that changed the dynamic a little bit.
Okay.
So I don't think Ken will continue because he wants to focus on the historical, biographical, and educational plays, cause that's what he does. And then if Chris wants to come back on as an organizer, we'd love to have him, and we'd love to do the Jazz Fest again, but we can't do it by ourselves anymore.
Okay.
We need someone with the musical inclination and the connections.
So there may not be one this year?
No, as far as I know, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But, we'd love to have one, and if someone else wants to take it up, I mean, or do a joint thing, we would love to do that, but we just can't do it by ourselves. We don't have the manpower, the resources, we just can't do it.
Has Kenny always been involved with it?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
Each one?
he
Yeah.
emceed it when Chris was the head of it, but that was like 10 years ago. And so the dynamic of it has changed so much, cause it used to be, in the bars, and then we switched to that, and then it was in the theater, and so it's gone through a lot of transformation, so we just need to find the right way to do it, and then once we find that, we can keep it. We'd like to keep it, but we just don't have the wherewithal kind of as a theater group, cause we're focused on, plays, and music's not really our strong suit. If you've heard either me or Ken sing, you would know that it's not pretty.
Okay.
Don't laugh, right? So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Very well.
Do they have wireless over at the Harness Museum?
Oh, this museum?
Yeah.
I just wonder if it's opportunity to show off some of the things like the postcards that have been scanned on a unit that sits somewhere for people to explore. I don't know, just thought.
Even if they don't have wireless, if we scan them and have them as JPEGs, which we will, if we have a digital picture frame or an iPad or a computer, which I'll be there, I'll be willing to sit with mine if you'd like. It can just go through a PowerPoint or a slide.
Photo projector.
Do you need a digital picture frame? I think I have one.
I don't know if we got an extra.
No, if
Do you mean
don't.
like during to have it on display there, or
Yeah,
during
just
the
sitting on a
trivia?
table as
This
in
is
the
what
past
we
we've
have
had
Pinterest,
relics from Goshen's
Not
past.
last year, but the year before, I guess it was the first year, we had some stuff around the sides. People ignored them unanimously. I
Did
mean,
they?
They just wanted to talk to each other. They didn't wanna go over in the
Okay.
corner and look at a screen.
But there may be a way to integrate it into the actual event, because since we're using, you know, we can maybe somehow, you know, maybe
Yeah.
with Ken's emceeing, I believe, still, you know, I can kind of give him the short version of what we're doing and stuff, and some of the images, he can kind of indicate where
I
we're
think
going,
that
what's
would
happening.
work, because then the whole group is focused on that,
Right,
little
so that's good, yeah, we could
excerpt.
definitely try to
Some of our
bring that
postcards
into,
might
yeah,
end up
sure,
being the
well,
image
questions, I'm
for
sure.
the question.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, by the way, if you're looking to find this again, it's on the internet. Hopefully it'll be on, it should be on the internet by then. I would expect it to be in March. Yeah, it better be, yeah. I'll whip them into shape. Yeah. So,
Okay. Then let's go into executive session.
Alright then, let's do
Okay.
it. I make the motion.
Need a
Oh,
motion for
Mary.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
Uh,
Yeah.
You go into executive
Norma made,
session?
seconded, yeah.
No,
Second.
second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
At 8:06.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, I don't have one.